is that even though meditation can't do it, especially because it's a doing, that when we're here with you, it's easy to meditate. Meditation, he's sitting here, his eyes are closed. I'm sitting here, my eyes are closed. And so it's easy to enter into a meditative state. So I find this quite strange. And then it makes it seem that this meditation, the meditative state, has some value. It makes it seem that way. Because everyone loves the peace. Everyone loves this that quietness. So that to me is a strange phenomenon. Even though meditation can be a hindrance. I was with some people in the summer, and very powerful master they're with, and they've been with me for many, many years. And in his presence, meditation happens very easily. People lose their thoughts and all that without making any effort. And I could see what you were saying. And so at the end of the 2 hours, his being in his presence is finished. It lingers on, the effect of it, but yet it's, well, we'll have to meditate again, and we'll have to meditate again, and we'll have to meditate more, and if we feel that, and this has been going on for 35 years. And it made me think of what you say, how we build up this energy field through meditation, and as long as we're in that energy field, everything is fine, nothing can touch us. But then when we leave, when there's the leaving the presence of the Master and his presence, then mind comes back, and then the desire to get back to that state happens again. So I thought of you many times when I was and seeing, this is exactly what you're talking about. But here, meditation is easy. So it seems like it has value. And I want to ask you a question about that. It seems that when the mind is quiet, that there's more receptivity to what you're saying. That when you give your teachings in a quiet mind, I understand what he's saying now. But if the mind is very, very noisy, it doesn't seem to, unless it's a shock for a person, it doesn't seem that it has that same type of receptivity to what you're saying. So in that way, I'm wondering if having that quietness can be of some value, because it seems to create more receptivity, because the mind isn't so talkative, let's say.
But here, whether we are having a quiet mind or noisy mind, if it is happened naturally, it doesn't matter. But
Either way,
if you are creating like this, that alone is the problem. So if you, instead of a noisy mind, if you are creating a quiet mind, comparing with the noisy mind, we think the quiet mind is good.
Yes.
But actually, the noisy mind alone is good. Because it is the natural mind. So
right.
what is natural is correct.
Is correct.
But whenever we are creating, we may create a noble thing, we may create a pleasurable thing, but it is not good.
Right.
So what is natural, that alone is good.
So if it just happens without effort,
without any effort,
then no matter what it is, it can be noisy, doesn't matter, or it can be very quiet.
If meditation happens without any effort, doesn't matter. But if you do it with the effort, then we are creating something unnatural.
Yeah.
Various aspects it will cover. It will because many type of questions they will put.
Many types of questions. Yes.
So many type of answer will be also there.
Well, so I thought, well, I'll read it again now because I read it last year. So I thought, since you're here, I can read it and then see if any questions come while you're here, so I can ask you the direct questions. There was one here where you're talking about the obstinacy. So I think my understanding is correct. By obstinacy, you mean the refusal of the intellect to give up, its attempt to understand, or its attempt for freedom. Is that what you mean? That the attempt of the intellect to keep control. Is that what you mean by the obstinacy when you talk about obstinacy?
What is the meaning of obstinacy?
Stubborn, holding. Obstinacy means holding to a point.
Holding a point.
Holding a point.
Okay. So some adamant, with some adamant nature.
Yeah.
That is obstinacy.
Yeah.
So obstinacy means when we want, because when obstinacy is artificial, it is not natural. So when we are in obstinacy, we are doing something on our own interest. It is not natural. So that is a problem.
That's the problem.
So it is not natural. But in the external world is concerned, you can use obstinacy.
Right.
But if it is psychological, we have to go along with the happening.
With that.
We should not select anything.
But can it happen unconsciously?
Oh, let it, whatever happens in the psychological world, whether happening consciously or unconsciously, we have to take it as unconscious happening.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a matter of doing something. It doesn't necessarily, this stubbornness doesn't necessarily means you are doing it and I need to stop it. Because sometimes it happens just unconsciously. You don't even aware that you are stubborn.
So what happens in the psychological world, because something may, because of some work, something may happen. So whatever happens, we have to take it, whether you are doing it consciously, as a whole, we have to take it as unconscious happening. Even though you are trying to control yourself, shape yourself, the very trying to shape yourself, we can be treated as unconscious. But in the first step, we may, according to our understanding, we need not work psychologically. But in spite of our understanding, if you find ourselves doing something, creating some struggle, creating some effort, so we have to treat it as an unconscious happening. Even though it looks like conscious happening, conscious doing, we have to treat it as an unconscious happening. Psychological world is concerned.
So related to that question, sir, sometimes it's very difficult to identify which is happening in a conscious mind, which is not happening in an unconscious mind. For example, regarding what we tend to plan. So we sit in the office and we tend to plan. That is one category. Another one is we are in a bathroom taking a shower. Immediately that thought comes regarding the planning for the day. So these two are two different things, right? One is we sitting on a table, take a paper and we put it on a plan and working out. Another one is we just on a shower. Our purpose is take a shower. But all of a sudden this thought comes into the mind. So
here, you may have so many thoughts or plans. It may be related to for all, whether you are not sitting for planning, you are having only a shower, but in that time also some thought may be coming to deal with the situation, to deal with some of your schedule or anything. So it is purely related to the external world. So whatever comes is related to the external world, whether it is happening unconsciously or consciously, we have to treat it as a conscious doing, conscious work. Whether it is happens conscious or unconscious. If it is related to the external world, related to the external work, we have to treat it as a conscious work, conscious happening. But if it is related to the psychological world, for example, you may be having some good feeling, you should not have any bad feeling like this. Whether in that case, so the aim is to regulate yourself psychologically. So if the aim is to regulate yourself psychologically, some effort comes consciously or unconsciously related to shape yourself psychologically. So the total thing must be treated as the unconscious happening, whether you are doing it consciously or unconsciously. We have to take it as a unconscious happening, because psychological world is concerned, whatever happens is an unconscious happening. Because we have some understanding. In spite of our understanding, we are doing some work in the psychological world to shape our psychological emotions or other thing. So here our effort came without against the understanding. Because we understood that no work in the psychological work. In spite of our understanding, we do something. So even though you do it consciously or unconsciously, we have to treat it as unconscious happening, unconscious work. But the matter is whether it is related to the external work or it is related to the psychological work. If it is related to the psychological work, whatever happens, we have to take it as unconscious happening.
But when we do something consciously on the external world, it will bring some feelings to the inner mind, right? Or inner feelings, right? It will bring to that. So even that case, even when we do conscious work outside, which brings some feelings to the inner mind, that also we need to take care, like it's happening unconsciously.
So here our aim is to, for example, you have some problem in your business or anything, and thereby you have some tension. Because of the reaction to the situation, you have some tension. So with the help of the tension alone, you can deal with something in the external world. So you can make out your tension. If you are, so whatever emotion you have, you can make use of the emotion to deal with the situation. At the same time, you should not induce yourself to be without any tension. So keeping yourself without any tension is a psychological work. But at the same time, using the tension to execute the external work is a different work. So that is justified. If it is related to the external world, it is justified. So if you are trying to keep yourself without any tension, because we have understood that no work is necessary in the psychological world. So in spite of our understanding, if you are trying to do something against ourselves, so even though we are thinking that it is a conscious work, conscious struggle, we have to treat it as also unconscious happening. Because in no way you should not feel yourself responsible for any wrong committed in the psychological world. We should not keep ourselves without any wrong. Whether you do it correctly or incorrectly, we should not hold yourself as a person, a wrongdoer. You should not keep yourself, you should not take yourself as a wrongdoer. So whatever you, whether you may do something foolishly, because we have understood properly that no work is necessary in the psychological world. So in spite of that, whenever we have some sorrow or fear, naturally we want to be free from that. So it is a struggle within ourselves. So even though struggle happens, we need not worry about that. So whatever happens in the psychological world, the beginning and the end is only psychological. There is no necessary to hold ourselves to be responsible. But in the external world is concerned, whether you have any program, plan or anything consciously or unconsciously, you have to take it as a conscious work. Then it is a doing. But whatever happens in the psychological world, we have to take it as a happening. It is not a doing. Even though it looks like a doing, we have to treat it as a happening.
Both consciously and unconscious.
Whether consciously or unconsciously. But the end must be towards, whether the end is towards the psychological world or the external world. So if the end is towards the external world, whatever, whether you do it consciously or unconsciously, we have to treat it as if we have done it consciously. But if it is towards the psychological world, even though you are doing it consciously, we have to treat it as an unconscious act. So that is the difference between the psychological world and the physical world.
So when we read the book or when we talk with the Guruji, this alert is with us, but once we read the book, probably it stays with us for an half a day or full day. But the next day, when we get into this kind of normal circumstances, right, we don't get this alert. In the sense like when something happens internally, again our mind backs to the old stage or original stage, which tend to feel like, okay, it's my problem, I did it. Again, it goes to, I would call it as a normal stage, but in the book it says that it's not a normal stage, it's
So whatever comes, it must be a natural one. Whether some good feel emotion came, or some bad emotion came, or some tension may came, but doesn't matter. Everything is natural. So there must be, it must be stamped with natural. It should not be a creative one. It must be natural. That alone is the test. Psychological world is concerned, everything must be natural. So we have to treat it. Whether your part may be there, even though you have some part in that, the happening of some emotion, even though you have to take it as an unconscious happening. So the main thing is that we should not be blamed for anything happening in our psychological world.
But how to keep the alert? The alert is there for a while. As we are talking now, we are with you. The alert is there. And when we read the book, that time also we are with you through the book. Right? So that alert is there. Suppose if we haven't taken the book for 3 days or 4 days, again we tend to feel like, so how to maintain that alert?
So when you want to do a good thing alone, you have to be alert. So there is no good or bad. Then you need not be alert. Psychological world is concerned, you must be free. You need not be alert. But in the external world, where alone is concerned, you must be alert to do a correct thing. Otherwise, there will be many harm. But the psychological world is concerned, there is no harm. So need not be alert. Whatever happens is a correct thing. So good thing is a correct thing, bad thing is a correct thing. Good is some emotion is a correct one, bad emotion is a correct one. Then why should we keep ourselves alert? It is unnecessary torturing also. We need not torture also.
So, because so many times you read, or they'll say, keep vigilant, be vigilant, be vigilant. And what you're saying is, no need for even that, because that becomes like an effort. So there's no need to be vigilant. That's nice.
That is easy.
It's easy, relaxing. It's relaxing.
Question about planning that comes in related to the external world, but it comes in times where it's really not productive. Like you're trying to take a bath or trying to get some sleep, but the thought about all the stuff that you need to do tomorrow, and you have nothing to do about it, but it's still related to the external world. It's thought that not related to the internal feeling, but which I can just disregard and don't give them any attention. But there are thoughts that related to things in the external. So it implies, according to what you say, that there is some attention needed to give to them and dismiss them. But they are repetitive and sometimes like seem endlessly. So how to approach?
So here, you may have to do something in tomorrow, and in the present moment you have to go to sleep. So when you put down yourself to be asleep, so then you should not invite such kind of thoughts. The thought may come, but you need not control that. No short thought should come. But at the same time, you should not ride upon any thought. Some thought may come, and you should know whenever some thought came that you have to do something tomorrow, and being attracted by the thought, you stood up in the bed and think for that, then you will be it will give some disturbance to the sleep. So the present duty is to go to sleep. So you have to postpone the thought, postpone your decision. Whatever good thought may come, let me decide tomorrow. You have to. So the first thing is you have to take. Sleep alone is the thing you are taking in your hand. So whenever you put yourself for sleep, then you have no necessity to discuss with yourself about the next day plan. But if you want to discuss with the next day plan, you have to do it before going to bed. For that, you can think many things about things. But whenever some good thought may come, whenever you are in a sitting mode, no thought may come. But whenever you lay down upon the bed, so the necessary thought may come. So you may take a policy that whatever may be the good thought, you should not give any attention to that. So then only you can have a good sleep. Otherwise, you will have a disturbed sleep. So let us see next day. Either you have to do it anything before go to bed. So whenever you go to bed, sleep alone is a thing. Here, whatever comes, whether some necessary thought may have, but you should not ride upon any thought. So you have to allow the thought, but at the same time, you need not fight with the thought, but you should not give any attention to the thought.
It is true not only to sleep, because it is true to so many activities we have during the day, either if we take a bath or just having some conversation with somebody, or doing any other activity, and those thoughts come related to things that we need to do in the external world, in the future, and it implies that takes the attention.
So whether it is requiring your attention, you need not pay attention to that. So you have to give total freedom to that, because on your part, because you take the work of going to sleep, so you have to take the work alone. But against the work, so whatever happens through thought is against the work you are taking. So you should not pay attention to that. Whether it is happening or not, you need not worry about that. But at the same time, you should not resist the thought. So you have to allow the thought, but you should not pay attention, and you should not develop anything consciously. The thought may suggest that you have to do something next day, but you should not sit for that and consciously develop the thought and multiply the thought, and strength to the thought is not necessary.
If we try to involve 100% here, again the thoughts on the background, some other thoughts are coming up. We have some understanding saying that sometimes some thoughts comes from your inner mind, which has a more powerful thing. So one is during satsang, attending satsang, don't give any attention to those kind of thoughts, just ignore, right? So that we can be fully 100% here. But our understanding of sometimes there are some good thoughts which comes automatically from our inner mind. So if we ignore those kind of thoughts, do we lose something, or is that okay? Or if you don't consider it now, simply ignore it now, it will come some other time, some other way, some other mechanism.
So here, when you are doing some work, some unnecessary thought may come. So it's not related to the work. But here, we should not resist those thoughts. We need not resist the thoughts. The thought, we have to give total freedom to that. But the main thing is that you should not try to develop the thoughts. You should not ride upon the thought. That alone is the important thing. But at the same time, you have to take it as a natural one. Whatever comes in a natural way, some thought may come, and you need not worry about the thought. For example, one of your friend suffers a financial loss in his business, and you support him financially and gave him some $10,000 or something. And with the help of your financial support, he set right the work, and he was he set right his work very nicely. And one day he came to you to thank you for your help. So while he is coming, and you are urgently typing some message in a mail, in a computer. You are typing because on urgent work you are typing. So your friend is coming to thank you. And when he came there, you stop the work. And for the time being, you may give attention to that. And he is thanking you but he is not stopping. He endlessly thank you. So for a certain period alone, you will give attention to that. So afterwards, what will you do? You will allow him to thank for himself, and you will go return to your type. You will type your work, but with your own ear alone you will hear it. So in this way, time being something will have some attraction. Whenever you are involved in a work, some thought may enter and it may draw your attention for the time being. So for the time being you may be misled. But the next moment you can return to your work. And you can give one ear to that and the other ear to here. So in this way you can very easily manage the unnecessary thought. But at the same time, you should not keep yourself without any thought. That is struggle within yourself. You need not worry about that.
The school, when Galileo found that there is a mass of an object, there was a saying that there was a king to find the purity of some metal, and he was asked that question, and he was keep on thinking, and he was in a bathtub. When he was submerged in the bathtub, he realized that there is a change in the weight of his body. Then he realized that out of that sudden, okay, this is the easy way to find the purity of the metal, and the story ends like he just walked out of the tub and he was running on the street, saying that I found out. This story just came like that. So his main purpose was taking a bath over there. His inner mind brings some idea which might be very new idea for him at that moment. So similarly, some ideas come to us as well, right? So how to classify this kind of unique things and bad things or good things? Do we need to consider like that, or even if Galileo doesn't consider that idea at that time, will that come to him at a later point of how to take that?
But in this case of Galileo, his main work is not bathing. His main work is finding out bathing. So the Thomas Alva Edison case is concerned, many times he forgot whether he has eaten his food or not. So his work is only finding out something. So that alone is the main work. And he unaware of whether he has taking bath or not. So then only he started from the bathtub without having any dress. So it is said like this.
So they live in that scientific world, and the normal day routines are always kind of a part of it. It's like that, right? So it seems to be like that.
So here, the psychological work, whenever we are in, for example, whenever you are seriously thinking about planning something, you may not aware of the circumstances itself.
Right.
So here, we are doing some work.
Right.
So psychologically thinking some work is also a kind of work. But it is psychological work, but it is related to the external dealings. For that you have to do something. So in that time, so you select the work. So you are unaware of the other work. So it is also a kind of work. But what we are trying to say is that purely psychological. Whether we have to arrange ourselves psychologically without any reason to the external world, whether we have to arrange yourself psychologically itself is the question. Psychologically, you need not arrange yourself. You have to put it naturally. It will arrange itself for its reason.
Where you're talking about what we are telling you is to discover for yourself there's nothing to attain. Very clear. Then you say, the moment you discover that there's nothing to attain, your mind would reach a standstill point. Now that standstill point, I've come at many times when I've been investigating, saying, oh my God, of course. Freedom has to be my nature, it can't be gained. Boom, everything goes quiet. Is that the standstill point you're talking about?
No.
Where it just goes quiet? Okay, so
we may unconsciously do something against ourselves. We may struggle with ourselves unconsciously. The very moment you are conscious of your unconscious struggle, the real, unnecessary.
Yes.
So in this way we have a stop. Like
Yeah.
this.
But in that, the ahankara can still be there. Is that correct? Or does the ahankara completely disappear at that time? Because I'll say, oh wow, there's no movement. Nothing at all. And yet there's still the ahankara that's aware of that still point. It seems like there's still some sense of I that's aware of the stillness, aware of, just that. Nothing to say in the moment, nothing to do in that moment, it's just still. But still, this subtle I sense. And is that what you're talking about, that subtle I sense that can still be there at that time, or does that disappear?
In the psychological world is concerned, for example, the Shastras, according to the scriptures, they will classify the mind, manam, mind, the intellect,
The buddhi.
ahankara, and another one is
There's
mind, manam, buddhi,
yeah.
siddham. Siddham is the character,
yeah.
intellect, mind. So they classify us in the four categories. But all this classification is only related to the external world.
Right.
So because our mind is functioning towards the external world, some have some relationship with the external world. So if it is related to the external world, we have to classify our mind. Whether mind is functioning towards the external world, or intellect is functioning, or our ego is functioning. So it is, if it is related to the external world. But in the psychological world is concerned, no classification is necessary. It is totally mind. Whether it takes the shape of the ahankara, or I am, or ego, or it takes the shape of the intellect, or it is the character, whatever it be.
Or the standstill point that you talk about, is that still part of mind? Or is this something that's...
But even though the standstill point happens, we should not give importance to the standstill point itself.
Because I was going to ask you...
It is also treated as a happening as another.
Okay.
As is there is no difference between the wandering mind and the standstill
That's
mind.
my question.
So if the psychological world is concerned, everything is one. Even ahankara is one, even the emotion is one, even some good feeling alone, everything is one.
Okay. So that standstill point, there's no value in that happening, so let's say, again and again and again. There's no value in terms of liberation, there's no value.
No. But the main thing is only because of the standstill point alone, we are dismissing the earlier struggle. So it gives some time. It gives some time to the earlier struggle. So when we are understanding, when we are struggling with ourselves, when we want to free from fear and sorrow unconsciously, the understanding that we are unnecessarily struggling with myself, it give you a stand, give you a standstill mind. Then we return to the natural state once again. So it gives you an agent. It supports us an agent to return ourselves to the natural state.
Okay.
Even though it is necessary for that moment, we need not give importance to that. It is also a natural mode. We have to take it as a natural.
As a natural, okay. So what I find is that, frankly, my mind doesn't bother me very much. I don't feel very bothered by it, especially since I started seeing you and you said, just don't worry about it. Don't, it doesn't matter. I find that my mind, it doesn't bother me very much. Everything's still there. It's all just going crazy. But yet I still feel what I would call a certain steadiness within the midst of that mind. And so I'm wanting to clarify this issue about the ahankara, because in spite of not being bothered by my mind very much, my wife is the one where I get bothered the most in relationship. But in spite of that, not being bothered by my mind, that sense of the ahankara as the experiencer of not being bothered by the mind is still there. And so should I just not say, okay, let the ahankara be there, it doesn't matter, or what's the way to deal with that? The mind doesn't bother me, but definitely there's still the I sense that says that.
So it is also another, even the ahankara is a kind of emotion. Just like other emotion, the feeling and the consciousness is also another emotion. So you have to treat it as an emotion, just like the passing emotion.
Okay.
But here, with related to the external world, we may, for example, when you have some problem with your wife or any circumstances, you may take a stand. Your stand may disturb the other people.
Yeah.
But that does not matter, that you should not have any stand. So it is related to the external situation.
I understand.
The external situation all has to decide whether your stand is good or not. So that is related to the external situation. But if the psychological world is concerned, whether emotion is coming or eye consciousness is coming, there is no problem about anything.
No problem.
Whatever comes, it is just a happening. For example, when you are in a dream, you are having many friends in the dream. You are having many good situations or bad situations in the dream. And your eye consciousness is also there. You cannot claim the eye consciousness alone is important, no other situation is not. Everything is, it is only the dream. Your eye consciousness itself is a dream, your friends are the dream, the situation are dream, everything is a dream. So in this way, whatever comes in the psychological world is just like a dream, just like emotion. So it's just like a natural happening. We should not give any weight to anything, whether you higher weight or lower weight. Everything is equal.
Okay.
Nothing is special, nothing is ugly, nothing is good. Everything is one. Everything is natural.
Even the thought that comes and recognize this is a dream is part of the dream, basically.
So when you are in the dream, you cannot recognize it as a dream. So whenever you are
Some can do it.
but then whenever you can recognize, then you are come away from the dream. It cannot be considered as a dream. So whenever you are in the dream, you cannot recognize it as a dream. If you are able to recognize it, then you are not in the dream. You have come away from the dream to a certain extent.
Isn't that the awakening, in a way, in a sense, the coming away from this dream, knowing that all this is a dream, it's mentally?
So whenever you recognize your dream, so some awakening state may be there. Without the awakening state, you cannot feel it is a dream. So sometimes you may, for some certain moment, you may come to the awakening state, and once again you go to the dream state. That may also happen. But whenever you recognize that it is a dream, so you surely have come away from the dream. Otherwise, you cannot feel like that.
Can you repeat that answer? Can you explain it in some more? With an example, you asked a question about the ahankara. As a sense of, there is also a sense of or a sort of emotional feeling of any.
So here, when we have some unconsciously, we may have struggle, and with the time you recognize that we are struggling unconsciously. So when the thing happens like this, the thought happens like this, we come to a conclusion, I have unconsciously done. So
We take up, you also said, you take up an action based on that feeling.
No, but we take some action. Action has a, when you are not consciously, the very moment you recognize you are unconsciously doing something, you will recognize that we are doing false. The very moment of understanding, we are having some shift from one thing to other. Because we wind up the
ensuing the following action, that is also unconscious, you mean to say? That is also unconscious?
So here, whether you are doing it consciously or not, if it is related to the psychological work, we will treat it as unconscious. We have to label it as unconscious work. Because psychological work is
It's purely based on that psychological.
Psychological. Because the beginning and the end is psychological.
So that the following action also will not bind us.
Yeah, well,
The effect of that following action will not bind us.
but here, if it is related to, purely related to the psychological world. So if it is related to the physical world, then we have to do something.
But some following action will
Related to the physical
external
world.
world.
External world is concerned, whether you do it consciously or unconsciously, you have to treat it as a conscious work. Even though you may do something unconsciously, but that also can be considered as a conscious work. But in the psychological world is concerned, even though you do it unconsciously or consciously, even the conscious work can be considered as the unconscious work.
So that the merit of action will can either affect or affect our action will have some effect or affect it can affect us also because it is a conscious action.
So whatever you are doing some consciously doing anything psychologically, for example, you are consciously doing some to stabilize yourself. If you can't, you may have some tension or any problem, you may try to consciously stabilize yourself. You think you are consciously trying to solve yourself. But even though you are doing it consciously, you have to treat it as an unconscious work.
With respect to psychological.
Psychological.
With respect to physical world.
Yourself, that against my understanding I am doing some work with me, then you will blame yourself. So when you...
That the following with respect to that psychological world,
psychological
I have to take some action in the external world, in the physical world. But that is coming from, the root is from that psychological world, because of my psychological world. I do some action based on that.
Do some action in the external world.
External.
So the external world is concerned, you have to do something. So
no, that takes...
so here, even though you do, so in the external work is concerned, you need not arrange yourself. You need not arrange yourself psychologically. So when you are attending to the external work wholeheartedly, the necessary arrangement will happen on its own. You need not arrange yourself. You need not arrange yourself.
The external world needs a merit, yeah? But still, I may be thinking very bad, but my external action needs a merit, yeah?
Needs a
merit in the sense or a beneficial argument, yeah? It should not harm others.
Oh, so here you have to think. You have to select a good correct work. For that you can do something consciously. But at the same time, you need not create some emotion for yourself to deal with the external world.
Still an expression, is that correct?
Expression of the mind. Expression of the...
When we talk about everything being an expression of
Expression.
so the standstill point is still in the realm of experience, therefore still an expression?
Expression.
Because it seems like it's closer.
Oh.
At least in terms of, I guess, what we desire, which is peace. In a sense. The state of our innocent quality keeps raising. So that reduction of obstinacy, that you see is gradual, that happens over time. Maybe not for everyone, but for most people, it seems that way. So that's a gradual process, that reduction of the obstinacy?
So here, it is an idea that the obstinacy creates some problem. So when we understand that The obstinacy alone is the problem. But at the same time, we should not drive any idea that we have to execute the idea. I must keep myself without any obstinacy.
Right.
So the understanding alone is enough. But after that, you may do against your understanding. But whatever happens, whether according to your understanding or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you can understand obstinacy is that creates the problem that alone. Whether it expresses itself in some change or not. So whatever you are doing, you need not follow any principle related to the psychological world. So I must keep myself without any without obstinacy.
It's impossible.
So you need not keep the philosophy in one hand and do another thing in the psychological world. So you have to put down all the philosophy. So you must find out. The obstinacy creates problem. Obstinacy is the problem. Even though you understand like this, afterwards you may put down the understanding itself. That the obstinacy is the problem. Afterwards, whether you may do it with obstinacy or not, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
On the inner mind, we get different feelings, right? Happiness, joy, sorrow, everything it happens, right? Due to various kind of activities. So, when a bad thing or when sorrow happens, our mind says that this should not happen. But when good things are happening, we want to be in that moment. We want to continue that state. Based upon the books, don't give any attach to any on the internal side, right? So, is that, are we saying that it's like it's saying that every feeling or every thought is having an off-second lifetime? So, if we in that state, ultimately we don't have any down the line, we don't have any feelings at all, right? It's like it's a feelingless state, something like that we will end up, right? So is that correct, or whenever the feelings come in, we should leave there? What is the direction or what is the guidance there?
So off-a-sudden means, so each and every moment, new thought, some similar emotion may come again and again. It may look as a stagnant one, but it is still a flowing one. And even though some good feeling or bad feeling came, we think it is not, it lasts forever, but it is moment by moment is a new. So the life duration of each emotion is only half a second. That means for the time being it's half a second, but the next half a second another emotion may come. Not repeatedly coming like this. But here is that the psychological world is concerned, whatever comes, it must be natural. That alone is, we need not correct anything. So it must be natural, unconscious and natural. We need not do, but our action, our face must turn towards the external world alone. We should not turn towards the psychological world, to keep the psychological world in a good order. So we need not try to create any order in the psychological world. We must, whether it is right or wrong, we should take it as a natural one. We should not find fault with anything. So everything is good, or either you have to take everything as the illusion or everything as a good thing. We need not select this is good, this is bad. Everything is natural. So psychological world is concerned. But everything is related to the external world. It doesn't matter. But our concern, your psychological factor, psychological emotion may affect in certain way to the external world. So if you are having some good feeling, it will, in good way, it may be related to the external world. If you have some bad emotion, it may also have some, it may affect the external world also. Some relationship is there. But your concern is to take the emotion in a positive way to deal with the situation. But you need not deal with the emotion itself. Correcting the emotion is not necessary. But naturally, when your whole concern is only to the external world, and the emotion will change itself naturally. Some necessary, whether the unnecessary emotion may come, but if in course of time it may change to be a necessary emotion. You need not worry about the change. But it will happen naturally. You need not worry about that.
But it's like when some good activities are happening, say for example there is a new child born in our family, then by hearing the news, the happiness comes in our mind. If we keep on thinking about the child and we keep on discussing about that, the happiness provides, it stays there. If we, even for example, if we talk about that for 1 hour or 2 hours, it still remains there. But in some occasions, if we are not continuously thinking about, continuously talking about that, then that moment is gone. Sometimes another thought comes immediately, occupy us, or sometimes we find a gap. The sense like sometimes it looks like an idol. There is no thought, there is no feeling. Then something else comes in. So in the liberation, it's like if there is a good news, good happenings, good things are happening or bad things are happening. It's like we need to have that feeling prolonged, or it's like we need to come out of it as quick as possible. Or is that the nature of a thing that we will come out of it? Because in the books that it say that okay, by holding the thought, it stays with you for a longer time. If you're not holding Sumayiru, then it will automatically goes away. So is that so the question is like by Sumayiru means or the result of the Sumayiru is basically any feelings or any emotions, most probably very short-lived span, and you come to a state. I don't know what is the state is, but is that something else, right?
So here, don't do anything. Sumayiru, don't do anything. That means you don't need a change. If you do not need a change, then you keep yourself without doing anything. So you need not maintain yourself with the action of not doing anything. That is not necessary. If you do not select anything, then you will not do anything for the result. So that is the thing. But matter is, but actually, each and every emotion comes related to the circumstances. Some external thing may happen presently or pastly, or it may happen in the future. But it is related to some external thing. Then only as a response to the external thing alone, some emotion or thought or anything may come into the psychological level. So here, if the circumstances gets a change, naturally the emotion and thought may change. But we need not try to change the emotion and thought for itself.
But if the circumstance doesn't change, so I got that good news. So is it not like something like if we strike a bell, the sound of the bell it stays there louder and then it fades away, right? So is that like the circumstance, there is no change in the circumstances, but the happiness feeling or the sorrow feeling, it always dissipates in a particular time. Again, would be in some other silent state or something like that?
So here, the change of circumstances may be taken in a different way. For example, some unwanted person enter into the room, in our house,
Right.
and we feel angry upon the person.
Right.
Upon seeing him, we feel angry upon
Right.
the person. But he is not ready to go away. So here, no change of circumstances. But here, what we are doing afterwards that he will be there forever. Then that itself is a change of the circumstances. Whenever he is there is possibility to change the circumstances. Whenever possible to drive him away, then we may get angry upon the person. But at the same time, when you come to a conclusion that he will never go to the room, he will stay there forever, then that will be the position, then we will accept the situation. Even though the change in the circumstances, our approach to the situation changes. How we take the situation changes. In the first instance, we take the situation that we can clear the situation. In the next instance, we think we cannot clear the situation. So, even though the situation is not changing, the approach to the situation changes. But the approach to the situation, the changes of the approach itself is the change of situation. So, if you have the different approach, then you will take another way to deal with the situation.
But the situation can be just opposite to each other sometimes. Sometimes the next situation could be a neutral as well, right? In the sense like there is a happy moment, then there is a unhappy moment. Then those two are two extreme opposite sides. Other one is, okay, there is a happy moment, then regular, normal, right? So in the normal time, if I think about like a sine graph, right? So it's like a happy moment, then there is an unhappy moment, means again it goes in the reverse way. There is a happy moment, then okay, everything goes normal. Then is there anything like we have a state which doesn't have emotions at all, or there is no feeling at all, or there would be a gap or something like that?
So here, moments may change. So they cannot be. We cannot predict the moments are in a controllable state. It varies according to the circumstances. Many changes are there. Many circumstances may be there. Some good thing may happen, bad thing may happen. But according to the circumstances, we'll have some psychological emotion to deal with the situation. But here the main thing is that whether some appropriate emotion may come to deal with the situation or inappropriate emotion may come. But here we need not worry about the emotion. The emotional part, we can take it as a natural one. But some emotion may be correctly related to the situation, we can make use of the emotion. If it is not related to the situation, some unwanted anger or fear may come to deal with the situation. But it is not suitable. Sometimes, even though we may have anger, we cannot express it in that situation. So we need not use this anger. But at the same time, we need not keep ourselves without any anger. We need not try to have. If you give total freedom to our anger itself, it will go away very, very easily. But at the same time, if you control anger, it will create problem. But the main thing is that if it is related to the external situation and it is suitable to express your emotion to the external world, then you can use it in an appropriate way. But in the external world is concerned, you can make use of your emotion. But in the psychological world is concerned, there is no good, there is no bad. When there is no good, there is no bad, then there is no change is necessary. Even though it's an unnecessary thing, even though it's a good thing, so there is no necessity to keep on a good thing, there is no necessity to remove the bad thing. So psychological world is concerned, everything is natural, everything is correct, nothing is wrong.
So the freedom lies in making no distinction on the psychological level. That itself is freedom, because, in a way, because there's no distinction being.
Everything must be natural.
Yeah.
So here we should not have any philosophy to deal with ourselves psychologically. We have to put down all the philosophies. In the psychological world is concerned, we have to turn out all the philosophies.
Very tough.
All philosophy is related to the external world.
Yeah.
So
So
how-
the external world.
Yeah.
So how would you even have preference to do something other than something else in the external world? Even if not related to some internal happening that will occur due to this preference, if I prefer to be in a more comfortable way, in less than comfortable way, or even it all related to how we will feel?
So the each and every situation will have some psychological reaction. So the reaction is related to the external world. But here, if you take the psychological as a separate one, and if we find fault with anything, not necessary. We have to accept everything for fault.
Yeah, I understand, but why would you choose in the external world to do one thing over another thing? Even if you have some preference, like otherwise how would you choose?
So you may have some preference. So external world is concerned, your preference is justified.
But even this
Even
preference
preference happens to be in the psychological world, because preference happens in the psychological world. Even though it happens in the psychological world, if it is related to the external world, we can make use of that. We can make use of the psychological preference. But you may have some, for example, you may have some peace of mind, you may have some tension within you, but you should not prefer the peace of mind instead of the tension.
But this is how if I have to choose between two options in the external world to do something which will, to do something which will give me peace of mind and relaxation, or something will create a lot of tension in me, then naturally I prefer to do this, and I know that I will choose this because internally it will create some reaction that I will like.
So here, whenever you have some tension, then you will avoid the work in the external world.
Then, sorry.
Whenever you have some tension or anything, because some work creates some tension. So you avoid the work to free from the tension. So whenever you have some peace of mind when you do some work, so you are interested to do the work because it is giving some peace of mind. So here, your emotion is related to the external world. So that is different. But at the same time, if you prefer, whenever you have some tension within yourself, you want to reject that. So that is different. But with the help of the tension, you may reject the external work. That is different. But you should not blame the tension itself. You may blame the work. But you should not blame the tension. So it is only a reaction. It is only a shadow. But we should not find fault with any shadow.
Yeah, so he's asking, let's say I'm going on a train, and my preference is to go first class, because there's no crowds, there's no pushing, there's no shoving, I can sleep. My preference is to go first class rather than unreserved general. And so that's a preference, because I know if I go first class, I won't be bothered, I'll sleep comfortably. Whereas if I go in the unreserved, it's pushing and shoving, I may have to sit like that the whole trip. So in that way, that a preference is being made to affect me psychologically, to reduce a certain type of tension. I think is that what you mean? So it's hard to separate the two there. So he's asking, what does that mean in terms of what we're talking about? I'm just giving you a simple example, but
the convenience is only the psychological. The psychological
Definitely.
is the convenience,
definitely.
and the convenience is related to the external thing.
Yeah.
The first class is convenient to ourselves. So if it is related to the external world, we can make use of the sense of convenience to the external world. So we can prefer the first class. That's different. But at the same time, you may feel convenience instead of having some worries and some peace of mind. We prefer for example, you must keep yourself in a convenient state forever. You may prefer inconvenient. I should not be in a inconvenient state. I must be always in a peace of mind. I should not have any tension within me. So if you select here alone, so that is then your only focus is towards the psychological world. So if it is related, but the external world is related to the psychological world, it doesn't matter. But the matter is only to the external thing, to arrange the thing. for that it may be related to the psychological convenience, but it doesn't matter. But at the same time, you must keep yourself in the psychological, in the natural way, then you have a psychological struggle with yourself. So psychologically, whatever may happen, it will happen naturally. But you can make use of that to the external world.
To the follow-up to that question. So he feels comfortable going in the first class rather than the unreserved compartment. Say for example, he doesn't have the money to go for an first class. Okay, so now the external conditions, everything comes in, right? Say for example, it's cost 2,000 rupees, and you say for example, I'm having 1,000 rupees. So it's my inability to travel in a first class, which I feel so much comfort. So, but I need to travel. So now I'm forced to go in the unreserved compartment, right? So from the external world perspective, what the materialistic world, right? So what I have, which decides where I fit in. But by going in the unreserved compartment, if I have a feeling that it will create a discomfort, I will be unhappy. How do we handle this situation?
So here, even though it is convenient to go to the first class, when I do not have any money,
Nothing I can do.
Nothing wrong to be unhappy.
so we cannot go.
And so,
We may form a new philosophy that to going first class is very worst thing. You can find a new philosophy. Then only you can have a satisfaction.
You mentioned you are Gandhi.
But Swamiji once told that it's like external thing decides what action he needs to take on external world. But from the internal perspective, whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, both we should treat as the same. So even in this case, he explained to me, even in this case, if you go in an unreserved compartment, okay, you might feel discomfort, but if you have a mind of treating both the discomfort and comfort feeling same way, you don't find a difference, right? So probably you have the preference of what I need to do in the external world. It relies mostly on what is correct on the external side. That's what he was told.
So here, dealing with the external world as the same thing, that is different. But instead of that, the external world, we cannot deal with each and everything as the same. But if you are able to deal with yourself psychologically, you will have a different kind of mind. So when we have a liberated mind, then you can face the situation in a different way. So that is different. But instead of we have to take the external world as one some bad and good or one, that is not necessary. We have to, the external world is concerned, we have to take the bad as bad and good as good. Then only we can have a correct order in the external world. If you take everything as one, then we must be always in India itself. So the India will be like that. We can adjust with anything. So physically we should not adjust. Physically we have to do the correct thing. We have to do the appropriate thing. But if you accept yourself psychologically, some different change in your psychological system will be there. So in that different, so then we have the liberated mind. So functioning with the liberated mind and functioning with the struggling mind is different. So there is a difference. So if you are able to function with the liberated mind, your total perspective will be changed. So your approach will be changed. So that is the main.
So do we need to have this internal differently, external differently? It goes to the ancient world. whoever wants to seek a spiritual path, right, they will come out of the family life or normal life, right? So if you consider that case, here on the normal life or normal family life, we need to do a lot of external activities. That is why that brings a lot of emotions back to us. But in the ancient times, if you come out of all those things, there is no bigger commitment. It looks like life would be easier. Is that the right, or is that the ancient way would be a better platform to get the liberation, easier to get the liberation?
So the external arrangement, that is only the external arrangement. The external arrangement, if it was, but in the external world is concerned, to the possible extent, we may, some growth may be there. So without any growth, we have to keep ourselves without any external growth, that is not correct. So you may, possible extent, you may grow. Because of the growing of population and growing of demand, we have to grow accordingly. So everything has to grow. But psychologically, the main thing is that if you solve yourself psychologically, you will have a different approach. That is a deciding factor. So it is in our hand. The psychological matter is in our hand. But physically, it is related to the many factors, many people. And that is different. But to the possible extent, we can arrange the external world. If in a limited world, for example, living in a prison, you don't have any work. Everybody may lock in the prison and everybody will look after you. What's the good of it? You need not do anything. You can simply keep yourself in the prison. Or another, the timely you can have food. No work.
So when a person, when he needs to find a boundary that this is my normal growth or this is we are trying extraordinary in the, because in the corporate environment and which is going on currently, every day we are talking about expansion, every day we are talking about targets, everything, right? It is a practical, if you don't, whether you make 1 crore or 1,000 crores, still corporate world is looking for a 20% or 30% improvement from the last year or last quarter. Is that something like which is harder to the spiritual world, or by the liberation that we are talking about, that doesn't matter whether you will 1,000 crores or you leave with 1 crore? Is that true, or do we need to have some balance? Or
so the external world is also concerned, some order must be there. Some unnecessary growth is not necessary, but at the same time, necessary growth is a necessary one. Unnecessary growth is not necessary. For example, you must have a house for yourself. You must have a car for yourself. But you need not have several cars for yourself. You need not have several houses for yourself. But here, the trend is like this. We must have several houses. We must have several motor cars. So in this way, the lifestyle is like this. But that is not necessary. But there must be some order. The external world is concerned, some order may be there, but it is not in our hand. It is a collective responsibility. But in course of time, we may think for that also. But the psychological world is in our hand, totally in our hand. At any time, we can be liberated. So that is the possible step we can have. If you take the possible step, so the next step will be, this is the impossible. Even though it is impossible, we can convert it to a possible extent. We can think about the possibilities and have the change of it to the possible extent. And we can have a collective responsibility. Collectively, we can think for a change in the circumstances and the world itself. We can possibly think like that. But it is not in our hand. But psychological world purely in our hand. Nobody is later. So nobody can interfere. It is totally in our hands. We are the authority for ourselves. So where we can change ourselves wholeheartedly. But externally we are incapable. To the possible extent we can give your support to a good end. But everybody has to contribute, everybody has to change the thing, so many things involved. But psychologically, you are the authority for yourself. You can change yourself at any time. So you can select this one, and after getting this, you may also move for that. So that is a continuous process. But this is a limited process. You can end the psychological factor at any time. And after ending the psychological process, you can enter this physical process.
What you consider as necessary in the external world, the mind basically define what is necessary, and it changes from the environment you're in. If you say one car is enough, it might be, and one car is necessary, for example. In different places, you don't even have this in mind that you need this car as a necessity. But if you live in a certain place, one car you consider it as a necessity. And because of that, you start to, you don't have enough money for that, and you start to make a lot of effort for that. So even this, what is it that makes the external world as a necessity can be not very rational or not very, like, how we define what is necessary, because it can be very high standard, which makes which will create a lot of effort, both internally and externally, for nothing.
Okay, external world is concerned, we may think and develop many kind of philosophy to suit with our convenience. But the main thing is that we have to live conveniently. For that we can have some social order, social philosophies, and we can work for that. So that is a different thing. So somebody may be satisfied with limited sources, limited circumstances, limited resources. But somebody may want something more. So for example, somebody is doing some business, and if he has some problem in the business, if he faced a financial loss, nobody will help. So if you have any resource for yourself, you can separate through the resources. You can some savings you can have. Then if you have some more property, you will dispose some property and you will collect the money, and you can separate the situation. So if you have, but at the same time, if your government will look after any problem in your business or anything, then you need not keep any property for yourself, more than the required need. So, but in these circumstances, we have to rely upon ourselves. We have to rely upon our property. So we have to acquire more property. So if the society will be like that, everything will be looked after by the other people or the government itself, we need not acquire anything. What is necessary, that enough we can have. So there is a different way we can, that is, somebody may be the expert to deal with the society, but I am not an expert to give more suggestion for that. So that may be different. We have to, there may be some problem if each and every philosophy, there may be some problem also. But we have to rectify all those things. But that is a different angle, different approach.
Into this external situation, our intellect, which is unbiased, is the one who basically decide whether it's a desire or a necessity, and you should act according to this unbiased intellect decision, and don't let any other mind interference with it.
So then only it can be considered as intellect. If it is biased, it cannot be considered as intellect. It is also, it can be considered as a mind itself. If it has some bias, if it has some demand, I want this, I don't want that. So that can be considered as intellect. That cannot be considered as intellect. It can be considered as mind itself. So mind will alone will have some demand. The intellect will not have any demand. Intellect will not have any bias. So it will have some idea what is correct or not. So it will function just like a judicial officer. It will find this is correct, this is wrong, this is wrong. But it is related to the external world. So the mind, even though it is mind, some portion of the mind takes the role of a judicially act. This is correct, this is appropriate. And we will have a decision like that. And even when it begins to demand something, I must be like that, I want this, I don't want that, then it is not the intellect. So intellect is having the capacity to function neutrally without any bias. But it is related to the external world. But if the psychological world is concerned, there should not be any judge. There is no necessity of neutral person. Even though it takes the role of a neutral person, it must be treated as the mind itself.
See, the intellect takes an unbiased role. Suppose in case I take a decision, when the result comes, I find that my decision has gone wrong. Not in tune with my expected result. Then we can't say that the intellect has given me unbiased decision.
So here we are defining what is intellect. How it is functioning, it is different.
Okay.
This is correct. Even a thief itself can use his intellect.
Yes, that's what
The thief may decide,
Yes.
this I want to go to this, steal this house or that house.
Exactly.
So he may, in an unbiased manner, he can think and
Yes.
take a decision.
Okay.
To
steal one house is okay.
That does not mean that he is not a thief.
Okay.
Even thief also can use intellect. So I define what is intellect.
Okay.
And I define what is intellect and what is mind. Even thief itself can use his intellect. He will judge what if I enter into this house, I can very easily escape. He can decide like this through his intellect. So this is intellect is neutral.
Okay.
Without taking any demand. So without any demand, it is in a neutral way, it is thinking like that.
Why the question was raised? Why the question was raised? I didn't understand.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Can you explain why that question was raised?
Why did you ask that question?
No, just to clarify myself.
To define.
To see the process of the intellect, logical aspect. When there is some emotion or anything that started to happen internally, and then consciously comes the thought that okay, there's nothing for me to do here. There's nothing to do here. But again, this conscious thought itself is basically, again, the mind divides itself to a me who doesn't need to do anything about this. And so even this conscious thought is not part of not allowing the flow. And it's another interference of the flow. So I need to take it also as unconscious happening, even the conscious thought that's saying I have nothing to do here, or just
So here, when we are struggling with ourselves, for example, when we are in fear or anger or in sorrow, naturally we want to be free from that. So naturally, when we have like this, it will be a natural response that the understanding will come to our help. So it is also unconscious happening, that it comes to our help. No work is necessary. In spite of our understanding, we are unnecessarily fighting with ourselves. So in this way, it solves itself. So it is also taken as an unconscious step to solve your struggle within yourself. You need not give much importance to the double role, the unconscious role and the conscious role. You need not worry about that. That will be functioning in a natural way. Each and every moment, some unconscious happening and conscious recognition, it follows each other. That is the nature of our mind. Each and every moment, something happens unconsciously. The next moment, it becomes conscious. So that is again and again, it will have a sequence. It will be having like this. The first moment we have unconscious thought. The next moment we will have the conscious recognition of our thought. In this way, it will go like this. So in that manner alone, you will have some struggle within yourself. Then next moment you recognize you are unnecessarily struggling within yourself. So, and it will act, the understanding will act. So you will free from the struggling, because even the unconscious struggling will also go away from you.
In other words, I did not get the answer on his question. Maybe he got it. So there is this thought, I need not to interfere when it's internally something going on. And I see myself struggling with that, what is going on. I want to interfere. And then comes a recognition, oh, I need not to interfere here. Yeah, so let it be. This thought, is it also, of course it can be or should be treated as unconscious movement. So it's not my responsibility to have this thought now. Is it more than that? You know what I mean?
So here, so why I am saying that it is a conscious thought, because actually it is a conscious thought.
Yes.
Whenever I have some struggle within myself, and we are consciously understand that we need not worry about that,
Yes.
Then it is a conscious thought. Then, but at the same time, why I am saying that we have to take it as unconscious
Yes.
one, even though it is a conscious doing,
Yes.
we have to take it as unconscious one.
Yes, yes.
Because if you give permission to use that in a conscious way, you will always keep the
Yes,
philosophy in one hand,
yes.
and you will keep yourself alert always. So that alone, because whether you are doing it consciously, we have to deal with it as unconsciously.
Yes.
Then only you will not take the
Responsibility.
take the thing as a philosophy in your
Yes.
hand. So the main thing is that we should not have any philosophy within our mind. Psychological world is concerned, we must put down all the philosophies. Even though you are doing it consciously, you have to take it as an unconscious work.
Yes, yes.
Otherwise, you will take it always in your hand. I will keep myself vigilant. Always I must be alert, not to have any unconscious struggle with me. Then you will be like that. So if you take it as an unconscious thing, then you will not catch hold of any philosophy that yours. That's the reason for that.
Be so easy to make it a method, or to make a method out of it. Oh, I must not.
Oh, yeah.
You know, method based on it, and just become a philosophical application and becoming another method.
Because you want to have a good state always.
Yes, yes.
Protected state, good state. You are always anxious to have a good
Yeah,
state.
because
Instead
even
of
saying that, oh, I must not struggle with this, just let it be as it is. There's some hope that it'll clear away, it'll be okay when we do that, that maybe this struggle will go away. If I apply this
Method.
this method, make a method.
It should not become a method.
It should become a method. But the mind is so tricky. It can,
Yes.
It's always trying to have a method.
always.
When it becomes a method, there is an opportunity to forget the method.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
that's why this understanding helps.
Yeah,
Yes. No need to follow anything here.
yeah.
It comes naturally, so it goes naturally.
The working pattern of the mind is like this because we have some method to deal with the external world. So we are always in the method.
Yeah.
The natural tendency of the mind is functioning like that. So
Definitely.
it applies the same rule to the psychological.
Psychological.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is not going to solve the problem. Is it right?
Psychologically?
Psychological.
No, psychology. When you psychology apply anything, then
It is not going to really work.
that itself is the problem.
Right. And if there's an
You're not going
application of a method, there's a goal in mind.
No.
Wherever there's a method, there's a goal.
No, I don't have to apply method, it becomes another method.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't have to apply a method, is another method.
Definitely.
So even that has to be dropped down.
Yeah.
Until certain age or until certain stage, they're all having like a liberated mind. They don't care about anything. They always get involved in what they do, right? They don't think future. They don't think about past, right? So we are all like that until a certain stage. Then we started getting the knowledge. We transformed to the stage where we are right now, right? Is there any way that the kids also, or the child also should get knowledgeable, but still maintain that liberated state? Is there anything like that? Is there, or it was there in the ancient times, like 1,000 years ago, or something like that?
So here our understanding keep ourselves in the immersion state because the natural state of our mind is in the immersion state. Only because of our philosophies we are entered. Our philosophy is the problem. So if you put down all the philosophy, you will be in the innocent state. Our philosophy hold you bad. So if you put down the philosophy, you are good. You are not bad. You are in the innocent state. Philosophy alone is the problem. So psychological world is concerned, there should not be any philosophy. The philosophy makes you adult. If you don't have any philosophy, you are a child. Because the childish nature is our natural state. We did not create the childish nature. It is our natural state. Our innocent state is the natural state of our mind.
Were collective in the past which lived such natural state, let's say in India, or where? So is it conscious to you? We are collective which lived in that way in the past.
So everything, the past is a knowledge. For that, with the help of the knowledge, you can do something in the external situation. For that, psychological knowledge, everything is necessary. But no knowledge is necessary to correct yourself psychologically. So, the psychological world is concerned, the knowledge is a poison. The knowledge is the problem. But in the external world is concerned, the knowledge is a good thing. The
Yes.
knowledge is without knowledge you cannot do anything.
Yeah.
So it takes a different shape. It's related to the external world, the knowledge is a must, and that alone is the good thing. But psychological world is concerned, the knowledge alone is the worst thing.
Yes, yes. Maybe I can put the question differently. Was in the past, let's tell in India, whole collective, the time where the people lived like this naturally. Also, I mean collectively, naturally. You know what I mean? Where was no inside philosophy but outside functioned in proper way.
For the external world is concerned, you may have any philosophy. You may have, if you the ancient philosophy is good, you may try to execute the ancient philosophy for the collective living. You can uphold that philosophy.
No, I do not want to approach it now. I think I just was curious. Was it in the past such civilization times where the people lived in natural, more or less
He is asking
natural
whether
way?
how India civilization, the previous
Was it in-
civilization, they had this knowledge naturally or?
No, not naturally.
What do
No,
you-
this living inside
Liberated
without
mind.
philosophy and external functioning in the proper way.
Mhm.
So external world. So was that time? It's no important actually. It's just interest for the mind.
Another story, another information.
So instead of the orderly world, some disorderly world may give you more chance for your liberation.
Right.
Because of
Disorderly.
the problem, you
Yeah.
have some salvation within yourself.
Yes, yes, yes.
But if you are safely settled, you need not think about the
Yes.
liberation.
Yes, yes.
Hard to imagine India free of philosophy, isn't it? It's such a philosophical country.
It's a spiritual headquarters
Yeah.
for the whole cosmos.
It is.
Yeah, is the mind
But this
is
is
something
also-
physical?
Yes, sorry.
What is that?
Is mind something, you can call it as, is it any relation with the brain or something like that?
Brain means the related to the body. So here we can say
No,
Mind
is the mind stuff is a physical stuff? Is there any physicality connected with that? Can we say mind has a physical mind? Is it something like a physical matter?
now we can say like a physical matter. Because without the brain we cannot have any mind.
But it doesn't look like a physical.
Even though it looks like that, we have to take it as a physical one.
Physical.
But actually, there are many people come away from the physical body and re-enter into the physical body. So for that, if you come away from the physical body, your mind is only in the astral body, not in the physical body. Then in that case alone, your brain has no business. But otherwise, when we are both physical and psychologically same, the brain is the center for our mind. Without the brain, no mind is possible. For example, if your brain is affected by any wound or any accident, if your brain is affected, your mind will also be affected. So it has some connection. But whenever you come away from the physical body, the hurt happen to the brain will not affect the psychological, the astral body. So that is different. But presently, now we are interlinked, and in that condition, we have to think the mind is the response of the brain. We can consider it like this.
Yes, I'm able to recognize my physical body very well. But I still recognize I have a mind. But I don't really see it as something which is existing, which I cannot be seen also at the same time. As, okay, this is the center. That's why I asked this question.
Okay, it may look like that because we may think on the psychological body we have,
Okay.
and it may
Doesn't have any physicality in that.
Yeah, it may think like that. We cannot think that I am the product of our brain. We cannot think like
Yeah,
that.
yes.